Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, or whenever you're watching this live. If you can hear me and see me, please do type in, yes, I can hear you and see you, and put in your name as well. That would help me a lot. And tell me which platform you're on at the moment. I can't see the LinkedIn, but other places I can see. So let me know and where you're listening from as well, or where you're based and listening to this video cast, I would say, rather than broadcast. Today's guest is, I love stories. No, everyone loves stories, right? That's why we watch movies. That's why movie biz is thriving irrespective, right? So what we don't understand is we can use business stories. Recently, in last few years or so, business storytelling has picked up, and people in businesses are thinking, oh, we may have to use the story. The number one person, or at least the person who stirred all of this, is Apple's founder. When he went on stage and started telling stories and started building about how to do the launches, it made it lot easier for other person. Oh yeah, if he can do it, we can do it as well. But that is, we've all been doing, but we didn't have a structure of it. Today's guest, Lea Taylor, she is author, she's a publisher. She publishes, she's got publishing house alongside with other two partners. If I'm right, she will correct me if I'm not. So what she does in this trio of ladies is, hers is more creative writing and also storytelling, how to tell a story and how to communicate a message with stories. She works with MSPs. I want to find out whether it's Scottish MSPs or also some from Westminster. So I am going to bring her on, and she's such a laugh. And I'm going to show the poem which they've written for St. Andrew's Day, that's Scottish National Day. So I will show you that at the later. It's on the YouTube if you want to go and watch that. You can. I'll put the link here as well. So let me bring Lea to the screen. Hey, Lea, thank you very much.
Hello. It's lovely to be here.
Oh, yeah, lovely to meet you too. So tell us a little bit about you.
Okay.
And also give us what we're going to get from you today. I will be asking you a question, and you know that.
Okay. Well, I'll first of all, I'll start off with a bit of my background. I'm a university graduate from Edinburgh University, sort of an undergraduate and postgraduate as well. And largely I started off life as a community worker. So I worked in context or in the field for nigh on 20 years. And during that time, I came across storytelling just as a way of engaging parents and getting parents to work with their children. These were parents that had low-level literacy skills and wanted to improve the children's skills, but felt that they didn't have enough skills to bring to bear and needed some support with that. So initially I was doing adult basic education and doing family learning settings, amongst other things. That was just one of the specialisms I did at the time. And I happened to come across storytelling just by accident. And I thought, oh my God, what an amazing tool, because you can engage with people at all ages and stages. It's a wonderful way of engaging with people. I'll just have to make an apology now, because if you can hear some clicking in the background, I've got two puppies. And
bless them.
if I put them out of the door, they start to howl. So I've left them in here. And if they get really, really bad, I'll just have to go and get some pig's ears or something.
Oh, don't worry. You can bring them on the camera as well. That's not.
They probably will join us in a minute. Actually, one of them will. Oh gosh.
There you go. Yeah, she listened.
This is the noisy one. If I get him to come on. speak.
Hello.
He's not going to speak now. He's
Hello.
got camera shy. He'll probably come
Oh
up in a
no,
minute.
that's not right, is it? You are the
No,
one who barked.
it's all about attention for him, and I try not to give him attention when he
Oh,
asks
listen.
for it. It's negative attention. Anyway,
Oh yeah, that's true.
so back to my background. So I
Yeah.
started off on this tack, having seen the wonders of storytelling, thinking I've got to have some of this. I've got to find out more. So I went off and took the training, or did a load of training, and I volunteered at the Botanic Gardens, the Royal Botanic Gardens here in Edinburgh, to be a
The
talking
Edinburgh.
tree.
Okay. Yeah.
And at the time, they had a specialist room, specially for storytellers, that would accommodate approximately about 100 people. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It had, it was tiered a bit like an Olympian arena, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and the people
Yeah.
would sit around and you tell the stories there, and it was absolutely
Oh,
terrifying to start off with.
Oh yeah.
To cut your teeth
Obviously, yeah.
on stories, and being surrounded by not only families but little ones. Sometimes when they're not used to having stories, they tend to get up and potter around and break into a story, and if you're not used to it, it's a difficult thing to handle until you get used to it, and then you include them in the story or whatever.
Yeah.
So in a sense, that's how I cut my teeth, and then I progressed into writing my own stories. I do a lot of traditional stories and conflict stories.
Yeah.
Depends on the brief. So I work with schools, I work with community groups, I work with, do specialist work with dementia, people in care homes with dementia, and I work with business groups. So I do 360 in terms of my storytelling.
Yes.
And
Because
from that,
every aspects of life can be enhanced through stories, isn't it? It's the
absolutely.
way we communicate our feelings. If we could open up, if we are factual about things, that's when we get stuck, because it's not flowing naturally for us.
It doesn't relate.
Yeah.
It doesn't relate. And storytelling can be used in a very therapeutic way. For example, where I've worked with Women's Aid, I've used storytelling and writing with them to enable them to sort of not look at their own issues, their own stories, but enable them to sort of look outwards in a sense, and kind of relate to what's going on, tell them stories that are similar, that will enable them to engage on a meta level where they're stuck at, and enable them to sort of move on and take it up a level, or discuss it amongst their peers without it having to be personal. And then you would write on it, which again, writing is a very, very therapeutic tool in and of itself. But they're two very, very different crafts. Storytelling is a very separate craft to actually writing.
Yes.
Storytelling is mind to mind, eye to eye, mind to mind, heart to heart. So it's told eye to eye, mind to mind, heart to heart. And that's the point of storytelling in all ways, especially if we're thinking in terms of business, business storytelling. What you're trying to do is engage with your client or the people that you intend to engage with. Give a little bit of yourself. So make yourself a little bit, make it a little bit personal, a little bit intimate, not too, don't allow yourself to open up and be too vulnerable. But what you're trying to do is capture them, capture their attention, make you stand out, or not you per se, but your business, your idea stand out. So they think, oh, that's interesting, and that they can relate to it. So
it is about this is where it gets a little bit trickier. In the past, I've heard many people, or at least I've never thought that I am a storyteller. These days I do get by.
We're all storytellers. That's the thing. We're all storytellers.
It took me a while to understand that we are all telling the story, but we have got this idea in our head that it has to be the sob story to get the attention. It doesn't have to be. You've got to relate to their problems or relate to them and say, oh yeah, that sounds like me, so I need to listen. That is what matters, isn't it? So how did you you've been working with charity, third sector group, and also you've been working with the corporate people. How did you find it is hard, isn't it, when you go into an investment bank and say, oh, you need to tell a story. It's like, how
It,
can I tell a story when there are numbers in it?
well, I would
So
say it
how do you
depends on the
really?
brief. It depends on the brief, because a lot of people, really, it's about being afraid to actually stand up
Yeah,
in front of people and get their point across, because they've got so much going on in their heads. It gets so busy that it comes out almost too fast, or they don't pace themselves. So it's about
yeah,
timing, pace, making sure that you're getting the key points across, but without it sounding dull. With what you're trying to do is make sure that you're relating the story. So for example, there were, signature stories, you know, um,
yes,
so a signature is usually something that you're remembered for, something that you've done.
yes.
And then you've got a key story, which a story that's used to make a specific point. So there are two elements of that. And with your stories, it's about capturing the audience's attention, and don't make it about you. It's about the product that you're selling, or
Yeah.
the item that you're trying to sort of get across.
So how do you differentiate signature story and a key story? I mean, it could be sometimes what I'm thinking here is it could be the same, right?
I
It could
I
be
would
the
say
same.
I would say it's different. A signature story is more about the personality of the person,
Yeah.
or
Mm.
I don't know, say someone had climbed Mount Everest or something like that and done it in record time. That's a signature point. It's something that they've done, and you're looking at the effort that is taken, the personality behind it, what he did to actually succeed that. That's the signature elements, the actual getting to the top, and
Yeah.
surmounting any difficulties that he's had, and the
Or it could be their career. So when did they start? How did they start? And where they are right now? That
yes,
could be the signature story as well.
yeah.
Makes
Whereas
sense.
the key story is about the actual item, the product. That
Yeah.
that's the nugget of the information that you're trying to get through. So, the
Yes.
key is sort of like, I have used this. Let me just think, just out of my head, beauty product, for example.
Yeah.
And you're someone who's, I don't know, probably suffered from acne or something like that, and because of the acne, you felt really self-conscious, not gone out and hidden yourself underneath a bush, let's say. And so
Yeah.
you've taken this product, you've used this specific product, and it's transformed you. Your acne doesn't show, and you feel a lot better. And that's the sort of key point of the product. The key point
Mm.
has been that it's made a transformation. It's made a massive transformation to your life, and this is what you can do now as a result of it.
Yes. So from what you're saying, I am gathering I'm trying to form an idea in my head. The first one, it doesn't have to be rags to the richer story. You
No.
don't have to go and climb the Himalayas, or you don't have to climb a mountain to tell the story. But even a part of your life could be a personality story.
Yeah.
And the key story is more or less like why I do what I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Differentiate?
Yeah. That's how I would do it. I mean, I would still put elements of it, the personality, into it, in terms of how you came to that product, what brought you to that product, and why you used it. Because that's giving you the lead in to the actual product, how you came about it. It's like me talking about storytelling, how I came about being a storyteller.
Yeah.
That's my lead in, and how I became, not just became a storyteller, how I became successful, what elements of that I felt was successful, and what elements I struggled with, So you do talk about the
So
balance.
that way people can relate to, oh yeah, that's that. And also the key story, I think it might change depending on both. Signature story and key story might change depending on, if I am speaking to a younger group, I would be talking more about what I was doing at that age when I was there, right?
Yeah.
And if I am speaking about a vision, to them is like, what did I do? For example, if I'm speaking to college students who wants to go get a job, I would be speaking, okay, what did I do to get a job. Is that the differentiation you would
Yeah,
say that I
yeah,
can? Yeah.
yeah.
So this is all right? So how do you go on if it's peers? Yeah, if the whole group is investment banks, we would be getting other investment bankers in the group and talking about what our year was like and what are we doing going forward. So how would I define the signature story and the key story at that point?
I suppose
Because it is a challenge, right?
it is. It's a challenge. Basically, you need to identify when I talk to my clients, I get them to identify what the point of their brief is. What is it they want? What is it they want me to enable them to bring out in the brief? So it's sort of like,
Yeah.
okay, what's the most important point? So it might be a goal of achieving a certain amount of income or enabling. If you're talking about investment bankers, let's say, I mean, I don't really know that much about investment bankers.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
But say they want to achieve a certain amount of bonus, you could get someone going in and sort of saying, well, I started off at this level. This is where I was at, and I was just bumping along until I suddenly realized that this was a way of looking at things, that it wasn't just about the money. It was about making connections with other people in the markets, in order for me to sort of move higher up,
Move forward.
make a bigger jump. I think my dog's actually asking to go out in the garden. Do you mind if I?
Yeah, let them out, and I'll,
Sorry,
I'll wait.
it's going to make an absolute racket. Give me a sec. I'll leave the
Okay,
door
no
open.
problem. That's a point of it. Like, I've worked with quite a few speaker coaches and storytellers to define my insecurities of telling stories, because as a technical person, I am a computer science graduate. As a technical person, it was really hard for me to relate to certain things. The most of the time I talk about processes. I talk about technical software platforms, how you're welcome. I'm just filling in. I talk about it's really whenever people said to me, I never had a problem of public speaking, but I had a problem of telling stories based on the processes. I always said the scientific process or technical process is 1, 2, 3, 4. It was here, and it was, and then we did this. Most of the time, it's more filled with technical jargons. I could not come up with analogies. These days, I do come up with analogies, but I could not come up with analogies of, oh, this is how I can relate to. Even just an example of, I do talk about digital marketing, and one of the subject is search engine optimization. So initially, when people didn't consider about websites, I would say, oh, website is more important than this and this. And at one point, I was walking down by the Royal Mile, and then I realized, oh, if I say your website is like your shop front, it depends on how much footprint you get. Makes it reliable whether your business is going to thrive or just gonna dwindle and die. So, or if I say you've got a shop and you've boarded all the windows and doors, and you're not letting anyone enter that, and people are like, I get it, instead of talking about why you should have a website.
It's a brilliant analogy, an absolutely brilliant analogy that you've used there. Rather than just using all the technical speak, what you've done is brought it down to brass tacks level. Use the shop front, which is perfect. Because we all like to shop.
That is all. That's all it is.
Yeah.
The internet is a highway or a high street. In this instance, and then the shop is on the internet.
And now you've got to sort of add to that analogy. Is it a high class shop, or is it just a bog standard
Yeah, is it just an
supermarket.
informative site or e-commerce site, or is it a
Yeah,
membership site? It is an online course, so you can differentiate that. This is where it took me a while. It took me a
uh-huh.
while. We need to just rake our. It's not that it is not inside. It is about how we take it out. I think that is why you should be working with people like you,
Mhm.
who's a coach,
Create
who
the
brings out
analysis.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, to create those analogies. In my case, it wasn't. It didn't. That revelation didn't come when I was with the coach. And poor guy, he tried his best to tell me, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that," and it was not entering my head at
Working.
all. And then I finished the session. I was walking down to get the train, and then now it makes sense.
Yeah. 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 It's, I mean,
So
in a sense, it's like what you're trying to do, um, in any way of business or what have you. What you're doing is taking someone on a journey, and you don't
yeah,
want it to be a boring journey. You don't want it to be just a long dark tunnel. You want to make it so there are interesting things that are interested that link, or interesting things
yeah,
that link. So, you know, when you start off your journey, you might start off with, I don't know, um, you might dive into your story and say, this thing happened to me. So you're
yeah,
setting the scene. Um, and then what you'll do is take them on a journey, but make sure that you link the beginning to the
yeah.
end.
To the
So
end.
it all comes up in a nice, neat bundle. One
Yes.
thing that I do use quite often, depending on who I'm working with and what have you, but there's something by Joseph Campbell called The Hero's Journey, and that,
Yes. I was going to ask you that. You were preempted it. Yeah.
yeah, it's sort of like, what was the name of the book? Hero with 1,000 Facts, I think it is. That was his
Uh-huh.
book.
Yeah.
And basically, it's sort of like about 12 points, and it starts
Yeah.
off with a hero, like he gets his call to adventure, let's say, and so he sets off on his journey, and then he meets a mentor. So it might be, for example, someone starting up a business who thinks, right, I've got a great idea. What do I do now? Oh, I better take advice on this. So he gets a mentor, and the mentor might give him information that he's going, I don't really want to hear that. You know, I thought it was just going to be quite easy. So he has to
Oh,
go
yeah.
through
That
these
happens to
different,
me all the time.
yeah. So he goes through all these different phases where it's sort of like, well, that was hard. But he'll learn something from it, and he'll just keep pushing. So you'll get the backwards and forwards elements of the story where
Yeah.
some things work, some things don't. And then he'll go through sort of like a growth period after going through bits of failure or whatever. And then he'll go through like a rebirth. You know, suddenly it all starts fitting into place, and he starts to take off until finally he's kind of come full circle from what Joseph
Rounded the
Campbell,
curve.
yeah,
Yeah.
Campbell's idea of the hero's journey would be. And
Yeah.
that's very important.
That's what is being taught to me, as well. Like it's really, really hard. Always, you are the sage if you're on the stage talking about the subject. You're an expert, so you are the one who is going to get them out of it. So the story formation in that case should be, your clients are the heroes who are struggling and hustling and not achieving what they set out to achieve, and then you come along and you say, hey, you can do this, and they either agree or disagree, and then they go on their own journey, and then there is another sage or someone, or it could be just you. And then you say, oh yeah, you told me that on that day. Many people have said that to me. You told me, I wish I listened to you when I was at that stage. And then you finish off saying, oh yeah, I like it. That's beautiful. So how did you end up working with MSPs?
Because I've become a storyteller, and I've probably been doing it probably about 10 years by that time. And I'm on the directory of professional storytellers at the Scottish Storytelling Centre. And
Yes.
every now and then they cast around for someone to someone might contact them to meet the criteria of a workshop. You know, they might be looking for CPD, working with teachers or something like that. Weird and wonderful things. I mean, I've even done films, you know, been approached
With,
through contacts with the Storytelling Centre. Someone might have contacted me. A lot of my work though, is word of mouth. A lot of people contact me through word of mouth, and that's how it goes. But in this particular instance, I had been approached by the Storytelling Centre management and said, would I be interested in doing this piece of work with MSPs? And yes, I took it, and it all took off from there, really.
So how did you get MSPs? I've worked in Parliament, and I worked with government as well. You know, it's really funny when you put them in a in a meeting room or something. They will be like stone faced, and if you get them out of the meeting room, they're all chirping. I was like, I can't get these people to talk to me properly because they are like, literally, you cannot get even a smile out of them most of the time.
Mixed it up. I definitely mixed it up. We did a series of workshops. So the first workshop, to me, what I needed to do was just get them out of themselves, you know, rather than it's like they were sitting there in their suits. The suits had taken over. And
everyone, if you see, everyone has got like, did you buy this cloth and cut the suits? Everyone has got the similar one. It's like a uniform. I was like, God, please help me.
It was pretty much like that. So what I wanted to do was show them that we can have fun by being creative, and that will enable us to sort of get to where we really need to go. So I ran the first workshop. I ran that in a way of getting them to sort of look at stories. Where did stories come from? What was the basis of them? Why do we tell stories? What's the important part of it? You know, the communication part. And then I got them to make up. I gave them a brief. I might have given them a popular fairy tale and gave them a choice. I set them into different groups. So let's say there were 4 groups. No, I think there was 3 groups. And I gave them various fairy tales that they could choose from. And I said, right, what I want you to do is bring them into the 21st century. You don't have to follow the story word for word as you remember it, because if they worked in groups, they would have to sort of argue about how the story would go. And then I said, you have to perform it. So, you know, you have to tell the story.
Did they do it? Did they do it?
They had to stand up and tell the story, not exactly perform it as in Cinderella or something like that. But yes, they did. And the first tranche was, I can't give any names, but there are a bunch
of... I don't want the names.
I mean, they really started to let themselves go. And in letting themselves go, they were sort of like chortling as they were telling the story, which gave the others permission to sort of go over the top. And by the time we'd finished that particular session, they were really becoming quite dramatic, quite thespian in their approach, which was great because there was a lot of laughter. And by just through the laughter, they were enabling themselves and the other people that were watching to sort of, it was like giving them permission to say, yes, we can have fun. Yes, we can get our point across. And it doesn't have to necessarily be in this very stilted fashion. So it was a great way of opening them up and sort of saying, right, this is a way of getting the point across, but without having to really labour the point, and having a little bit of humour and showing a little bit of ourselves. So a part of it was about performance as well as
of course. The speed, it has to be, because if you're having fun, you're not standing like a stick and having fun. You cannot convince anyone that you're having fun if you're standing like a stick.
No, and that's a totally new side to it. It's totally another side to actual performance itself. Getting the performance right, you know, rather than standing, you know, like you're touching your face and looking nervous and sort of moving around a lot. It's never going to work. It's about being calm and still within yourself and presenting it in a certain way.
Wow. This if you had done that one, you can do anyone.
Yeah,
MSPs are hard things to, or anyone who are government employee or civil servant. They're hard to crack is because of the so many red tapes
yeah,
they've had
yeah.
to go through.
And
It becomes really hard to get them to loosen up. Oh my God, if I say something, they're going to get me
yeah,
in
yeah,
the disciplinary room and say, oh, you should not have said that, or the journalist would get you. Or I think if they loosen up, they would make less mistakes of saying things which they
yeah,
shouldn't be.
yeah. It's about enabling them to feel, feel confident enough and loose enough within themselves to sort of say,
Yeah,
okay, this is the way it goes. But it's a hard thing to actually get to. It's a hard place to actually get to. Sorry, my earplugs are coming out. But it's also about getting them to a place like when they're looking at the story that they want to convey.
yeah,
It's a mix between having the time to practice the story and the time to convey the story. Because as a storyteller, this is with my professional storytelling hat on, if I'm telling a story, a story needs rehearsed.
yes,
But with them, they've only got a finite amount of time. So it's about showing them the
yeah.
tricks of how they would put the story together and what they would
So
do.
what would be, now is the right time to ask you those, what is the structure you would give them, or someone who is stiff and not confident going up and speaking, or telling the story with the message. So what would be the
What would be
steps they need to
I,
take
the steps that I would do? Like if you would say, for example, you were doing a specific talk or what have you,
on a town hall?
yeah, on a town hall or what have you, find your unique perspective to start off with. What is
Yeah,
it that makes it stand out? What is it that makes it unique? And think about, why should people come along and listen to that topic? What is it that makes them want to come along and listen to that topic in the first place? Why, if you were in their shoes, why would you want to go along and listen to the
yes,
topic? I would, if I had my way, I would encourage you to write your unique perspective, and then, if you can, write the points of your talk within 7 sentences.
ah,
All right, so you've got it condensed, and then you'll be able to build on it, or build it or contract, sort of expand or contract the story as you want to. But it enables you to rehearse it and memorize how you're going to do it.
yeah,
The 7 steps, and I would integrate elements of who you are into that topic, like the dive in. This is what I heard the other day, and this is how I became, I don't know, CEO of this company,
yeah,
that sort of thing. So incorporate elements of yourself in it, and an element of vulnerability. This is where I went wrong. This is my learning curve, and this is how it turned around for me. Depends on whether you're
yeah,
selling yourself or whether you're
yeah,
selling a product. So there's a bit of a difference between the two. If it's product, again, it's about the unique selling point. What is it that makes the difference? Why would people want to use the product? And how it will make a huge difference at the end of the story, so to speak. Does that make sense?
oh, yeah, it does. It does. Thank you very much. And anyone who is listening, or if you're going to watch on a replay, I want to share Leah's and 2 of her. What do you say? I call them 3 musketeers, but
Oh,
it's
Three
not
Musketeers.
really
It's the book whisperer. It's the book
two
whisperer.
other 2 other partners of hers, and they're all the writers and authors and publishers. I've got one question to ask, but I want to share the screen before we can go from there. I would like you to go on. If you go on this, this
Website.
is their website, thebookwhisperers.com. I will put the banner in if you want it. This is the website, thebookwhisperers.com, and they do have Facebook group and Facebook page as well. If you could go and like that, that would be great. And if you see, I've got to go back to the term, they do have these courses which is for free, and it's not going to stay free for long. I'm convincing them because the content is so good, and I don't know why they're giving out for free. It just doesn't make sense.
We
People
just
don't
wanted to do
value
it for
it.
lockdown because of COVID, because of the pandemic. We thought, what can we do that will help people?
Yeah, I was having a chat with Mary, but this is about you, and I think they do have foundation course. If you go and look at it, the exercise and other things on these ones are unbelievable. They've got exercise for everything. So please do go and look out for the memoir writing is another one, which has got 6 weeks, and creativity challenge, which is about poem and writing short stories and other creative work. So go and look for it, please. While it is free, use it. That's what I would say, because they've got very good stuff and they are hilarious bunch as well. Go and watch the first podcast. They all I heard throughout the first podcast, and now it's getting better, right? Was 3 of them laughing nonstop. I was like, what are these girls doing? They were like, it was such a fun. It was such a fun. So please do go and watch that as well. And Lea, Mary, and Susan, they've written. Is it a poem? Should I say poem or a story?
It was a poem for St Andrew's Day. It was a poem that we wanted to prepare for St Andrew's Day.
Yeah, and they recited as well. So that is on. Okay, let me see. Let me share the screen for that one as well. Chrome tab. Yeah, this is the one, and it is. These are the 3 musketeers. You can see their chummy faces. So we are Scotland, and for the St Andrews Days, it really has got good views. So please do, and go and subscribe as well. I've got to subscribe. I don't know. I did subscribe. I don't know how it looks like I have not subscribed, which is a bit strange. But anyway, people, this is what them. And Lea, before we finish off, I've got one more question concerned to your publishing career.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone has to come and work with you, they like. What type of stories, what would they be going through? Okay. A couple of weeks ago, last week, I had a guest or an expert in my interview show. And she said to me, she is a person, she's from Awards People. If you've not watched it, go and watch it. That's brilliant. She was telling, if you're going to get this expert in next week, you should ask this, or you should tell others about this as well. So if you're entering for an award, if you are wanting to speak on stage, you need to get that story perfected, because you have to tell that every time, and that becomes your signature story. It might not feel comfortable to start with, but
it will go. It will grow.
As you keep saying the same thing again and again, it will become a signature story. For that's when you would be working with. I asked her the question and I answered the question, which is always happens with me. I was supposed to ask you the question, and I answered it as well.
I suppose the thing to remember, if you're going to do, if you can do any public speaking or a tour or something like that, always remember that facts tell and stories sell.
Sells, yeah.
Okay, and narrative is more memorable and actionable and repeatable. So, if you find a narrative, people will remember.
So what is the difference between a narrative and a statement?
Narrative is like a story, and a statement is a fact. It's bland. It's not something you can. It's not something
emotionalized.
It's not emotionalized. Yeah. Whereas if you've got a narrative and you've put part of yourself in, people say, "Oh yeah, that was the lady that." I don't know.
Which told, I remember the stories. As I said, I don't remember the names. I am a Toastmaster. So what I do all the time is whenever I listen to anyone's speech, I don't remember their names, but I will remember their speech
Yeah.
or the story which they told in that. I don't even remember the title of the speech, but I remember the story which they told me.
Yeah, you remember the most important standout
Toastmasters.
bits of it. You know,
Yes.
what
Yeah.
it's in a sense, and that's what it is. It's the message they leave you that you take away with you. That's the most
Yeah.
important thing. Whereas if it was a bland story with nothing that you could relate to, you'd forget it as soon as you got out the door.
Yes. Yeah, that is why I think that is the main reason why we all should be a storyteller instead of just
Yeah.
a talker. I always say I've become from a talker to a speaker through Toastmasters, but that's because I developed the skills of telling the story and repeating the story as well. That makes a lot of difference. I don't know why my eyes are watering, but anyway, that's
Mine
me.
were
Could
doing
be.
that
Um,
just before I went on.
Oh no. Anyway, so the last one is a fun part of it. It is like a rapid fire round. I'll ask you three questions, um,
Oh,
which is not too personal.
that's all right.
I
That's
think
all
so. It's just a fun question. It's like
right.
apart from asking whether you can ask these questions rather than are you a morning or evening person?
Evening, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you love parties or just walk in a park or
I prefer a walk in a park, to be honest. I mean, I love partying
oh,
with friends, but I love a walk in a park. I'm more of a nature girl.
oh bless. So if you have a time like hey or you win a holiday and there are two choices which you can pick. One is visiting New York City, or the other one is going on a trail walk in Amazon. Which one would be?
I'd love the trail walk, but at the moment, because I've got knee surgery, I wouldn't be able to do it. In fact, my favourite holiday was a couple of years ago. I went to Donegal, and the little cottage had no Wi-Fi. Absolutely
Ooh.
no Wi-Fi whatsoever. It was right out in the wilds, but it was right near a beautiful beach that nobody went on, and it was probably about 3 miles long, and it was just gorgeous. I cried when I came away from the holiday.
Oh
My
no.
husband was sort of like, "Well, can't wait to get back home. You know, need TV, need radio, need Wi-Fi." And I'm sort of like, "Oh, this is perfect for me." My son didn't speak to me for the whole week because there was no Wi-Fi.
Oh no.
I was in my seventh heaven. I absolutely loved it. So that was me.
Yeah.
So, I'm happy in New York.
I do love Wi-Fi. Might not be my without Wi-Fi. I don't think I can live. I might die. I might eat other people. That's another problem. That's my biggest
I'm not,
problem. Eat
I'm
other
not really
people. Mind.
I'm not really fussed. I can live or die without it. It's not the be all and
Uh,
end all to me. Yeah. That's probably because I
okay.
live in my own little world.
Yes, but I think you do need that space to be creative as well,
Yeah.
to think differently
Yeah.
outside the box. Okay, the last one is: Are you a person who loves books or watches movie?
I love books because I can create my own little movies with the books.
Yes,
Have you ever had the time where
that's. I think that's why I love books as well. I can. It doesn't have to be this color. I can use my own color
absolutely,
to
or
certain things. Yeah.
have you ever had an occasion where you've read a book, you've absolutely loved it, and then you watch the movie and you think they've ruined it?
Oh, I don't watch. I don't
Imagine
watch
it.
the movies made out of book.
Yeah, yeah,
If I'm watching it, I would just watch the movie. I won't read the book
right.
because it will dilute the whole factor of, oh, that's not good. This is not good, and that experience just goes out of the window.
Yeah.
So I would either read a book or watch a movie.
Sometimes I book with
Not
the two, but I prefer a book. I prefer a book because that way I'm the director and producer of the whole thing in my mind's eye as I'm
yeah.
reading the book. Makes it
Oh,
easier that
bless.
way. Yeah.
That is thank you very much. I should have got you before, and I know hopefully your knee heals a lot faster than It has taken quite a while, I must
It's,
say.
well, I mean, that's what you get when you, because I had it was close to, I would say it's like knee replacement surgery, but I had part of my patella removed, sort of hacked off.
Ooh, that
So
was painful.
so that's why
No,
it's taken
please.
so long.
Yes, please.
Not,
I don't want to be in that.
yeah.
I always say I don't want to. I hate hospitals and I hate surgeries, anything related to that. And this morning, someone said you need to go to hospital and get that checked, and I was like,
Oh
I'll
no.
go away.
Yeah.
I'll go
Yeah.
away.
Well, it's either that or not be able to walk my dogs, and it, I
Oh,
need to walk my dogs, so yeah, I need to get that
yeah.
one sorted. But there we go. Thank you so much,
Brilliant.
Sudha. I've really enjoyed.
Thank you very much for coming on. I will put please do put all your details if you want to be okay. He wants you now.
No, it's been an absolute nightmare because I've not given him any attention, and he's
Yes, that's true.
in the background. He's been leaping about and barking, and goodness knows what. So sorry.
Bless him. Anyway, so please do put in all your social media handles and where they can get in touch with you. And also, I will give you the URL for the YouTube video so you can put your details there as well.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And I would like to get you on the season 2 or season 4. Why am I talking?
Yeah.
I'm going backwards.
Happy to.
This is season 3. I'm going to season 2. No, season 4.
Okay, I'd love that.
And I think I need to get all 3 of you girls, and then we can have a party or something like that.
Oh, that would be amazing. We'd probably be here for about 3 or 4 hours, and there'd be lots.
Yes,
of
it has to be longer. It has to be longer.
Yeah, there would be lots of shenanigans because we have the wildest sense of humour. In fact, we just egg each other on. We end up doing all kinds of, or agreeing to do all kinds of mad things, and none of us backs down. We all get on and do it. So
yes, yeah, that's true. Oh, you 3 are fun. Anyway, we need to get you all together. But today is all about you, Lea. It's all about you. There's no, you've got to compete with yourself. So please do put in all the details, and I'm going to take you off and finish off the show, and I'll speak to you soon.
Okay. All right. Bye, everyone.
Sorry, finish off. I took you off.
You did. You did. I wasn't really doing anything mad then either.
Yeah. Thank you, Lea. Really.
All right.
Thank you. I am one of those people as well who loves a laugh. Thank you, everyone. If you've got any question whatsoever about the story is personal. Story is about how can I show the vulnerability without making myself regret later. No one thinks you as like judges you or when you tell a story, but when you tell a fact, they might judge you because that's what judging is all about, judging the fact. No one judges the story. They might either say, yeah, I like it or not like it. So it's there's no judgment there. So that is why story sells all the time, because you can relate, you can be yourself, you can be creative, you can add things, you can leave things. There is no restrictions of how a story has to be told. So please do get in touch with Lea and get your story straight. That's also there. So you need to be singing and dancing so that it is, when people come to your different speeches, they say, oh yeah, I know this person. There is an order to the madness. The story sometimes stories are full of the mischiefs and misgivings and things which we thought or we think we should have done as well. So it all forms a part of the narrative, as Lea says. Thank you very much. And next week, I've got someone who is going to talk about problem solving in the business. How do you define a problem? And I think that if you've got the stories right, and that would add up to it, like when it is a problem, when there is a solution, how can you tell that as a story? That makes it even more fun to watch. So watch out for that, and I'll see you all next week. Until then, enjoy yourself and take care of yourself. And if you can avoid going out, please do avoid. Thank you very much, and I'll see you all next week. Bye for now.